I'm so thankful for Pastor Aaron Maddox. What a joy to get to lead this church alongside him and the other pastors. I thought Pastor Aaron preached a great sermon to us last Sunday on bearing one another's burdens. It was an excellent sermon. It was an inspiring sermon. It was a challenging sermon. If you were listening carefully, I personally thought it also left out an important point of application that I think is pretty essential for us to think about as a church family. And what I noticed is that Pastor Aaron left out of the sermon the one burden that he is causing all the rest of us to bear, I think in an uncharitable and downright unbiblical way. And that is the burden of hearing him say, open your Bible to 1 Peter, or please turn to 2 Corinthians. You know, Galatians 6 says, each one must bear his own load. And in the sermon, Aaron said there's some things that we bear for one another, and there's some things that are yours to carry. I just want to make the case that Pastor Aaron has his own backpack that he needs to carry, which is pronouncing books of the Bible correctly, and that he's trying to make us bear that burden by buying into his claim that we should call this book of the Bible 1 Peter. Now, let me just make my case this way. If Pastor Aaron were British, I think this would be the most normal thing in the world. British people have their own way of saying things. They say things like, where's the loo? You mean the restroom? Yeah, it's down the hall over there. They add letters to perfectly normal words like humor and color and labor. British people just throw an extra U in those words. Why? None of us know. So if he were British and he were saying, open your Bible to 1 Peter, that would feel for some reason very normal. Sam Alberry can get away with that. He's British. Alistair Begg can get away with that. He's from Scotland. Rebecca McLaughlin can get away with that. She's British. If a British person says, today I'd like to take as my text 2 Corinthians, that makes total sense. We just go, well, of course, you're British. Friends, I want to remind you, Pastor Aaron Maddox is from Seattle. He's not British. And so I want to make the case in this weekly update video that he's making the rest of us bear a burden that is not ours to carry. My only goal in pointing this out is just to invite you to consider whether that's actually the case, because if we're going to be the priesthood of all believers, if we're going to bear one another's burdens, we have to do so together. And I think it might be time for us to just move toward Aaron in love and encourage him to adopt the American way of speaking of these biblical books. That's all I've got for you on this weekly update. I'll see you next week for another weekly update.